If you've spent, I don't know, more than 5 minutes scrolling social media late at night, you know the exact video I'm talking about. Oh, absolutely. We all do. Right? It's always some 22-year-old aggressively pointing at a Shopify dashboard, leaning against this rented Lamborghini in a Bali driveway. Yep, promising that if you just buy their copy-paste system, you'll be making 6 figures by next Tuesday. Exactly. And, today we are taking an absolute sledgehammer to that fake guru hype. It's about time, honestly. It's the modern version of the snake oil pitch, and I mean, it's incredibly seductive. It preys on a very specific kind of exhaustion that so many people feel right now. Yeah, when you're just totally burned out from your 9 to 5. Right? The idea of automated guaranteed returns, where wealth just sort of violently falls into your lap while you sleep, that is exactly what your brain wants to hear. But then you actually try it. You set up the dropshipping store, or you buy the AI course, and a month later, nothing. Your bank account hasn't budged. Your online store is basically a digital ghost town, which is incredibly frustrating. It is. So, for this deep dive, we've pulled together a massive stack of research. We are looking at deep dive guides on digital real estate, advanced YouTube retention blueprints for 2025, and actual AI automation manuals. Real sources, not just Twitter threads. Exactly. Yeah. Because our mission today is to map out a real systematic 90-day action journey for you. No rented Lamborghinis, just the exact prompts, the daily production systems, and the psychological editing strategies you actually need to make money online with AI. I love it. So, okay, let's unpack this. If someone is starting at absolute zero today, the research points to this massive psychological hurdle they hit before the software even matters. Yeah, and this is crucial. Industry veterans call it the 45-day trap. And really understanding this trap is the foundation of your entire first 15 days of this 90-day journey. The first 15 days. Okay, break that down for me. So the data shows that the primary reason beginners fail isn't because, they picked the wrong AI voiceover tool or messed up their editing timeline. They fail because of a fatal mismatch between their expectations and the reality of the algorithm. So what makes day 45 so lethal? Like, why that specific day? Well, it represents the absolute lowest point in your dopamine cycle. Think about it. When you start out on day 1, your brain is just flooded with excitement. Oh yeah. You're designing a logo. You're picking brand colors. Exactly. You're setting up the channel. You're looking at Canva templates. Everything feels like massive progress. But around day 45, that novelty has completely evaporated. The honeymoon phase is over. Utterly over. The learning curve is flattening out. The daily tasks feel like a grind, and crucially, the big money hasn't arrived yet. Because the algorithms are still testing you, right? Yes. Platforms like YouTube or Etsy, they are testing your consistency, and this is the exact moment the vast majority of creators just tap out. They quit and go looking for the next shiny, easy side hustle. I always look at it like pushing this massive boulder up a really steep hill. And those first few weeks, the boulder is incredibly heavy. You're sweating. You're slipping in the mud. You're trying to figure out how to use ChatGPT and video editors at the same time, which is overwhelming. Totally. Yeah. But if you keep pushing, eventually you reach the crest and momentum takes over. The boulder starts rolling on its own. The problem is, most people drop the boulder halfway up and just walk over to a completely different hill. That is a perfect analogy, because divided attention will kill your momentum faster than anything else. To survive that 45-day dopamine crash, you have to commit to a strict 90-day window of just like grueling, stubborn refusal to quit. Just 90 days of putting your head down. Exactly. And more importantly, you have to choose just one hill. Okay, so with all the options out there, how do you even know which hill to pick? I mean, there's crypto, dropshipping, affiliate marketing. Well, the sources strongly advise picking only one of two high-leverage paths for this 90-day sprint. Path A is digital real estate, which means selling hyper-specific digital downloads on platforms like Etsy or Gumroad. Okay, and Path B. Path B is building an AI-assisted Faceless YouTube channel. All right, let's pull the thread on Path B first, the YouTube route. Because those initial 15 days are all about niche selection, and it's so easy to get this wrong. Oh, people get it wrong all the time.
Right. If you pick the wrong topic, you're essentially climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall. Like, you might be incredibly passionate about making videos covering the history of candle making, but the ceiling on that is terribly low. Yeah, it all comes down to a metric called RPM, or revenue per mil, which is simply how much an advertiser is willing to pay you for every 1,000 views your video gets. So, RPM dictates your actual income. Completely. Candle making has a really small audience, and advertisers selling, I don't know, wax and wicks, they don't have massive marketing budgets. So your RPM might be $1 or $2. Which is brutal. But contrast that with niches like personal finance or tech reviews or AI software news. Software companies and banks have bottomless ad budgets. Exactly. They're bidding against each other for that viewer's attention. which can drive your RPM anywhere from $7 to upwards of $30 per thousand views. Yeah. I mean, 100,000 views in a finance niche could mean $3,000 in ad revenue. But in the gaming niche, those same views might buy you a nice dinner. Yeah. The disparity is wild, though, there is a trade-off. High RPM niches require really high-quality, heavily researched scripts. You can't just phone it in. Good point. If you want to prioritize absolute ease of creation for your first 90 days, there are alternative massive markets. Think about, Study With Me channels. Oh, where the visual is just an aesthetic desk setup. Yeah, an aesthetic desk, some rain sounds, and a Pomodoro timer, or even horror story narrations. The RPM is lower definitely, but the audience is ravenous, and the production friction is almost zero. Okay, so that's the reality of the YouTube route. But let's say you choose Patha instead. You want to build digital real estate. This is where days 16 through 30 of our schedule come into play, focusing on securing that first month success. Right, getting that first win on the board. I find this model fascinating because it completely bypasses the nightmare of physical dropshipping. Oh, it's beautiful. Wow. There's no inventory sitting in your garage, no supplier delays from overseas. You are creating a digital asset, a PDF, a Notion template, a budget spreadsheet one single time, and you can sell that exact same file infinitely. But the strategy here has fundamentally changed from a few years ago.
If you go on Etsy today and list a generic 2025 daily planner, you are invisible. Yeah. The algorithm will actively bury you under 300,000 identical products. Exactly. The secret sauce is what the sources call surgical specificity. Surgical specificity, I like that. You really have to find a very specific hungry subculture and solve one highly specific problem for them. So instead of a daily planner, you use AI to help you outline and design an ADHD chore tracking system for single parents, or maybe a client onboarding packet for freelance wedding photographers. I love that. And the way you use AI here isn't just opening ChatGPT and saying, "Hey, write a planner." You have to give the AI a persona. Prompt engineering is everything here. It is. You prompt it by saying, "Act as an executive functioning coach for adults with ADHD. What are the 10 biggest friction points in daily household chores? And how would you design a one-page printable worksheet to bypass that friction?" See, that gives you the psychological framework, and then you just design the template in Canva. That level of prompt engineering is the difference between a product that actually sells and one that just sits there gathering digital dust. And the math on a successful digital product is incredibly forgiving. If you price that hyper-specific wedding photographer template at $12 and you sell it 200 times over a few months, that's $2,400. And your cost of goods sold is zero. Your shipping cost is zero. But we should probably address the monster in the closet here. Traffic. Traffic. Once that digital product is sitting on your Gumroad or Etsy page, the immediate panic sets in. Like, how do I actually get eyeballs on this? Because traffic generation is where most people just freeze. Totally. If you are using Etsy, you have to stop treating it like a shopping mall and start treating it like a search engine. Your product titles and tags shouldn't be cute or clever. They need to be stuffed with the exact weird long-tail phrases buyers are typing into the search bar. But relying purely on Etsy's internal search is slow. The research points to a massive external traffic engine for digital products, and it's one people usually completely overlook. You're talking about Pinterest. Yes, Pinterest. It's such a secret weapon, yeah. Because Pinterest operates entirely differently than TikTok or Instagram. Those platforms use recency-based algorithms. A video you post on TikTok today is virtually dead in 48 hours. The algorithm is like a slot machine constantly demanding new coins. Exactly. But Pinterest, on the other hand, is a visual library. It acts as a time capsule. That distinction is so important. People use Pinterest to plan their futures, weddings, home renovations, business launches. A pin you create today showcasing your budget spreadsheet might surface in someone's search results 3 years from now. Right? And it funnels a buyer directly to your shop. It creates this compounding effect where your past work continues to act as an unpaid sales team. It's passive traffic. But let's pivot back to path B for a second. Suppose you decided to tackle the faceless YouTube machine. Okay, yeah. As you move into days 31 through 60 of the 90-day plan, your focus has to shift from setting up your channel to building a factory-like production schedule. And there is a massive operational mistake almost every beginner makes right out of the gate. Oh, the scripting mistake. Yeah. This blew my mind when I first read the source material. Oh, it's so common. Most people think the workflow goes like this. You get an idea, you write an entire script, you spend hours generating the video and the audio, and then, like 5 minutes before you hit upload, you quickly slap some text on a screenshot and call it your thumbnail, which is completely backward. It's the equivalent of building this massive, beautiful supermarket and then putting a piece of cardboard on the front door that just says, "Food inside." Yes. Your title and thumbnail are your packaging. The data heavily suggests that packaging must be your absolute first step. It dictates the entire narrative flow of the video. There's a specific creator mentioned in the research who proved this perfectly. They had a video they scripted first and packaged last. It sat on YouTube for 10 months and scraped together maybe 15,000 views, which isn't great. Not for 10 months. So for their next video, they completely flipped the script. They spent 2 full days agonizing over the thumbnail concept and the title before they wrote a single word of the script. And what happened? That second video pulled in 13,000 views in just 48 hours. Wow. Yeah. When you lock in your packaging first, you know exactly what promise you are making to the viewer. Your script's only job at that point is to immediately deliver on the visual promise of that thumbnail. Tools like Canva or Thumbnail.ai are essential here for testing visual contrast and readability, right? Definitely. Once that storefront is compelling, then you start up the AI assembly line. So let's walk through what using that AI software stack actually feels like, because it's not just one magic button that does everything for you. It's a multi-step factory. Right? It's a workflow. For scripting, you're using large language models like ChatGPT or WriteSonic. But again, you don't just say, write a YouTube video. No, you feed it your target keywords and ask for an SEO-optimized outline with a high retention hook for the first 30 seconds. From there, the workflow moves to audio. You take that script and plug it into a voice cloning tool, things like ElevenLabs or Pixlo AI. These tools have drastically reduced that robotic monotone delivery we associate with early AI. They really have. They offer natural breathing, inflection, multiple accents. And then finally, you move to visuals using platforms like Pictory or InVideo. You feed the audio in, and the software automatically scans the transcript, pulls high-quality stock B-roll that matches the context, and auto-generates those dynamic word-by-word subtitles. I have to pause on the audio step, though. Because there's serious friction there. I watch a lot of YouTube, and the second my brain detects that stiff, uncanny valley AI cadence, I immediately click away. It just breaks the immersion. Yeah, a lot of people feel that way. So if these tools are so advanced, why do so many AI videos still sound terrible? Because the software is only as good as the input. An AI voice doesn't actually know what it's saying. It only knows how to process the text it's given. So if ChatGPT hands you a script filled with long nested clauses and academic phrasing like, in conclusion, we can observe that the AI voice is going to read it like a robot reading a textbook. So how do you manually humanize it? First, you aggressively edit the script for simple, punchy sentences. AI handles direct statements beautifully. Second, strip out idioms. If your script says, let's spill the beans on this strategy, an AI will often emphasize the wrong syllable. It sounds painfully unnatural. Exactly. Stick to universal direct language. And there's a mechanical trick to this too, right? The pause markers. That is the most crucial step. By default, an AI voice will just barrel through a massive paragraph without taking a single breath, which instantly flags it as non-human to the listener's ear. So how do you fix that on the text? You have to manually insert specific tags or even just extra commas into your script to force the AI to take a micropause. Giving the audio that breathing room tricks our brains into hearing a natural human cadence. Okay, so you've got a natural-sounding script matched with dynamic B-roll. You're producing content efficiently. As we move into days 61 through 75, the challenge morphs. The editing phase. Right? The hurdle is no longer making the video. It's keeping the viewer from getting bored and clicking away at the 3-minute mark, because if retention drops, the algorithm buries you. This brings us to the psychology of editing. If you look at the retention graphs and the back-end analytics of YouTube, the goal is always to manipulate that curve. We achieve this through two concepts: front-loading and flattening. Front-loading makes total sense to me. You put an intense, disproportionate amount of your effort into the first 30 to 60 seconds of the video, right? You're deploying pattern interrupts to break their scrolling trance. Exactly. You might start with an instant digital zoom right into the frame or a sudden before and after snap. You have to fight to keep that initial retention line as high as possible. But you can't sustain that energy forever. If you try to keep up a hyperphonetic explosive pace for a 12-minute video, you will literally exhaust the viewer's nervous system. Sensory overload sets in, and they bounce. That's where flattening comes in. You transition to a steady, predictable rhythm in the middle of the video. You bridge them smoothly from one point to the next without giving them an obvious exit ramp, which leads to a really counterintuitive point in the research. We tend to assume that fixing retention means adding more stuff, more explosions, flashing text, a cut every half second, but there's a massive danger in the over-editing trap. Yeah. It's the hallmark of an anxious creator. They don't trust their actual content, so they try to dazzle the viewer with visual noise. Look at massively successful creators like Penguins. Oh yeah. He pulls millions of views with a single camera angle, minimal cuts, and zero flashy transitions. The audience is anchored by the narrative flow. If you over-edit, especially if your topic is complex, like software tutorials or finance, it actively destroys retention. Because the viewer just can't process the information. So what's the baseline rule for pacing here? From what I gathered, it's fast cuts for energy and action. But if you're trying to convey emotion, drama, or explain a difficult concept, use long cuts. Hold the shot. And please, save the massive whoosh sound effects and cinematic stinger transitions for big structural shifts in the video. If you use a whoosh between every single sentence, it just turns into white noise. Well, pacing your visuals is only half the battle. If your screen is calm, but your audio is chaotic, the viewer still gets overwhelmed. That brings us to the actual secret retention engine. Sound design. Sound design. Visuals grab attention, but audio layering is what holds it. I love looking at sound design as emotional architecture. Your background music shouldn't just be a random, lo-fi beat looped for 15 minutes. The volume should be tucked away around -15 to -25 decibels below your voiceover. It fills the silence without fighting the narration. And you must change the track when the emotional tone of the story shifts. If you move from the introduction into a deep technical explanation, switch to a more ambient track. And when you hit the dramatic reveal, switch to something with a heavier beat. Subconsciously, this signals to the viewer's brain that a new chapter has started, which essentially resets their attention span. A great non-YouTube example of this is the movie The Lord of the Rings. Oh, the ring drop scene. Yes. When Bilbo drops the One Ring on the floor, the sound design team didn't just use a normal metallic clink. They artificially layered the sound of a heavy piece of metal hitting solid stone to convey how burdensome and dense that ring was. It's so effective. And you can do that in your edits. If a graphic of a rising stock chart hits the screen, add a subtle, heavy coin drop sound. It grounds the digital graphic in physical reality. Absolutely. Though it's worth noting that sometimes the most powerful sound design choice you can make is silence. Just completely dropping the audio. Yes. Giving your viewers a micro pause, 1 full second of dead air, right before delivering a critical piece of information, it creates this vacuum of anticipation. Okay, so the foundation is rock solid. You get the AI workflow humming, your editing psychology is dialed in, and your retention graphs are flat. We are entering the final stretch of the 90 days, days 76 to 90.
We are entering the final stretch of the 90 days, days 76 to 90. The scaling phase. Exactly. This is where we focus on scaling the operation to hit those monetization goals without doubling our workload. The most immediate scaling mechanism is repurposing your long-form videos into shorts. I mean, you already did the hard work of researching and generating the content. Now you extract the absolute punchiest, most value-dense 60 to 90-second segments. But you can't just randomly chop a minute out of the middle of a video and throw it on TikTok. No, definitely not. It still requires a dedicated hook for the short-form format, but the core asset is already built. Right. By extracting 3 to 5 shorts per week from your main videos, you are feeding the volume-heavy algorithms of YouTube Shorts and TikTok. These platforms act as massive top-of-funnel nets that catch casual scrollers and funnel them back to your deeply monetized long-form channel. It's the ultimate efficiency hack. But there is another scaling strategy here that honestly feels like a cheat code. The multilingual strategy. Yes, the multilingual global advantage, and this is where the Faceless model truly destroys traditional personality-driven content. Oh, completely. If you run a channel where you are sitting in front of a camera speaking English, translating your video for an international audience is an absolute nightmare. Because of the dubbing. Yeah. You have to dub the audio, and the lip syncing never matches. It always looks like a poorly dubbed martial arts movie, and viewers just hate it. But if your channel is faceless, utilizing stock footage and B-roll, there are no lips to sync. Precisely. The visual language is universal. So you can take tools like Pixflow AI, which offer dozens of different languages with nuanced emotional control. Incredible. You identify your top 5 best performing English videos, the ones you already know have proven retention and high click-through rates. You simply click a button to generate a Spanish, Portuguese, Hindi, or Arabic voiceover. You translate your title and thumbnail text. And just like that, you have a brand new, highly optimized digital asset. You're instantly tapping into massive global populations like the Spanish-speaking or Hindi-speaking markets, where there is significantly less creator competition than in the ultra-saturated English market. It's the exact same video multiplied across different demographics.
By day 90, if you've stuck to the daily schedule, you aren't just running a YouTube channel. You've built a multi-platform, multilingual digital media asset that operates around the clock. It's a remarkably comprehensive system. But looking at all this research, there is a vital concluding reality we have to acknowledge. We've spent this entire deep dive breaking down the immense power of AI tools. You can prompt a script into existence in seconds, clone a human-sounding voice, and automatically sync it to video. The barrier to entry has been obliterated. Completely obliterated. Which raises a terrifying question for you as the creator. If absolutely anyone, anywhere in the world can generate professional-grade content in minutes, what is the differentiator? If the tools are no longer scarce, what is? It all circles back to the 45-day trap we talked about at the beginning. When technology completely levels the playing field, the only true competitive advantage left in the digital economy is human endurance. Wow, that is powerful. It's the truth. The creators who actually secure financial freedom over the next few years will not be the ones who bought the most expensive AI subscription or found a secret ChatGPT prompt. Right? They will simply be the ones who have the psychological stamina to survive past day 45. The ones who can sit at their desk, feel the boredom and the friction, and choose to hit upload anyway. That is the ultimate reality check. The automated money falling into your lap, the rented Lamborghini, those are mirages designed to exploit your exhaustion. Yep. But the boulder is real. The friction of the process is real. Your job is to pick your hill, build your digital assets systematically, and refuse to twit for 90 days. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Now pick your target and go hit upload. And share this so that we take the 90-day challenge together. Want more like this in future? Subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos.